Conditions off the pavement are always changing, so why settle for a light bar that just turns on and off? The Rigid Adapt is a revolutionary new light bar that will automatically select from 8 beam patterns that range from a widespread 90-degree flood to a 15-degree spot based on your vehicle's speed. Try that with your knockoff light bar. A dash-mounted controller allows the user to toggle between adaptive mode, beam patterns, and RGBW accent lighting. With Adapt, it's easier than ever to own the night.
one of the virtual off-road racing series saw some of the most exciting racing that we have ever seen in the history of the league. But tonight, we really see what these drivers can do on the track when the championship continues. Welcome to the Racecraft TV broadcast booth, and welcome to the virtual off-road racing series round 2 of the Pro 4 Championship from iRacing's virtual Crandon International Raceway. I am Joshua Lee. Joining me in the booth tonight is Evan Pasoko. And Evan, this campaign got started in one of the best ways at Bark River. Some of the most exciting racing that we've really seen since the World Championship on the iRacing Off-Road League. And now that we are here in round number 2, the points are tight, and this is where it's really going to get started for the drivers.
It really is. We've seen that World Championship effect, right, with so many drivers competing in this Pro 4 Championship this year. But you're right, it really gets going now. We've seen over the past couple of seasons with this Pro 4 title that there really never gets to be a lot of separation, right? We kind of figure out in the middle portion who those 4 or 5 names are going to be, but nobody ever pulls away. And that's going to be ever more true with the field size, right? The risk for those top-level drivers to just have one bad night in a heat race and miss out on major points is higher than ever. So I would say that margin for error even smaller than it's ever been as we look forward to one of the most competitive championships yet.
And we go to one of the most popular tracks among drivers and fans alike. It's the Crandon International Raceways. We look up atop of this raceway in Crandon, Wisconsin, known as the Big House and one of the premier off-road racing circuits in the world. And it's no reason why these fans go out to Crandon. The fans love to tailgate at this track, and I think, Evan, it really goes to show that this is the home of off-road racing in the United States, and exactly why we're here for round 2 and are also going to crown a champion.
Yeah, it's no surprise that Crandon gets the call again for 2 dates. Of course, we'll see Bark River again in that penultimate race, but this is quintessential short course esports racing here on the iRacing service. There's no better place in the real world, and there is no better place here on the service. You referenced it already. Home of the Land Rush Start, the great equalizer after qualifying, where we're going to line them up 10 at a time on a row and send them off and into one of the most technically challenging tracks on the calendar. There's others that are known for hairpins, and there's other tracks that are known for some of the rhythm sections. This racetrack has all of it, and if you can be fast at Crandon, you can find success just about anywhere.
And we'll see Wild West, Wild Horse Pass in the next 2 races on the calendar. But right now, looking at the points championship, well, it can really go basically any way you want it at this point, with Connor Berry and Parker Retzlaff at the top, separated by just 1 point. Then you only have to go 3 points back from Retzlaff to find Keaton Swain. Then you find the other Retzlaff, Cody Retzlaff, and then tied for 5th with Christopher Plumley and Trenton Briley. So we've got points battles at the top. We've also got points battles all the way through the top 10, but Berry, Retzlaff, and Swain, the 3 heat winners from Bark River. Evan, makes sense to see them at the top here, but I think the main thing, Parker Retzlaff really fast in round number 1, taking to these pro trucks better than pretty much any newbie in the field this year.
Yeah, that's the big thing, right? We talk about the influx of drivers, that World Championship effect. Tonight's race looking like we'll see right now 43 different trucks competing. So who's going to take that next step, right? We know Barry's going to be good. We know Swain, Retzlaff, Plumley. Those are guys who we've talked about racing and finishing in the top 5 here for many years with this virtual off-road racing series. But it's that next wave that I'm looking for. And, you know, credit, you got guys like Winkler and Wellhouse. Can they take that next step and get to a top 5 spot? But really, Parker Retzlaff is the driver to watch, because we know what to expect out of Berry and Swain. As I just mentioned, Retzlaff has not established that long-term stability and consistency. So does he have that speed again here this week? And if he does, that's really going to put the rest of the field on notice that he's here to play and try to take away that championship.
Well, let's get one step closer to that first Land Rush start of the evening. Time to take a look at the starting grid for heat race number 1. Connor Berry, the winner of one feature last week, and of course the reigning iRacing Off-Road World Champion, starts to the inside of row number 1 with Keith Jeffrey there as well. Aiden Beerline making his first career start in the virtual off-road racing series, a professional in the 410s over in the World of Outlaws world, in the virtual world. He is starting there in 3rd. Cody Retzlaff in 4th. Crystal King, a great effort from her off the heel heels of her first world championship in 5th, with Ryan Miller in 6th. We're not at the end of row number 1 of this Land Rush start yet, by the way, with Cameron McGeshik, Drake Matag, Josh Clogg, and Robert Henderson rounding out the top 10, with Danny Aish, Cody Weinicke rounding out 11th and 12th, and rounding out the grid of heat number 1, Nathan Ramsey, Tyson Miller, and Rory Folsom. As we hit the green flag for the Land Rush start, they'll stretch it all the way down into turn number 1 now. They have not started the official lap yet. They're not going to start it until they get around to the start-finish line, but they're beating and banging further back, and up and over to his side is Keith Jeffrey in the 88. One driver going to go wide. Looks to be Josh Clogg, an issue. The 90 goes around as well of Tyson Miller, but at the front, how about Aiden Beerline? First start, up a spot now on the back bumper of the reigning champion.
It looked like they got through the first part of the Land Rush start good, but then it got a little bit sloppy, and a couple of drivers dropping back, as you saw up front, though, trying to pull away and gain that early advantage, and successfully using that front row position was Connor Berry, getting some contact from behind. That's going to be barreling in 2nd, King 3rd, Retzlaff 4, and Drake Matag, your top 5. That's getting the magic number to watch, as we are now officially on lap number 1 of 4 in heat race number 1.
Berry with the lead, and you can see Beerline, he has experience in the dirt, and we've seen from the likes of Alex Bergeron. We've also seen it from the likes of a couple other drivers that have come from either the Rallycross world or the dirt oval world to come into the virtual off-road racing series. They really take a liking to these pro trucks, as Cody Retzlaff gets physical to the 278 of Crystal King, moves her up and out of the groove, and into 3rd goes Cody Retzlaff. Remember, top 5 are going to advance their way into the feature race. Drake Matag in the 518 is on the edge of that top 5 right now, and he's going to knock on the door. That's Shenandoah Shine, number 278 of Crystal King. Can he get to the inside? He'll be able to get there for a moment, but not able to hold that position. He'll go for the move as they go through the left-hander, and already almost to the end of the official first lap, and King loses the spot to the 518, but there comes the crossover move in contact with King.
Gonna swing right back and trying to fight off there, as in the end the 518 truck gonna get the upper hand. King drops down to P5. She's not out of it yet, but now finds herself on that transfer bubble as we begin lap number 2 in this one. Talking about, what we were gonna see in this out of a Retzlaff, right? Some of those new names. How about the start for the 013 of Aiden DeBerley, making his first VORS Pro 4 championship start. He's a World of Outlaws World Championship Series pro level driver in the 410s, and he's doing pretty good on a little bit of a different kind of dirt discipline, as he sits right now comfortably in the number 2 position, and he is staying there toe for toe with Connor Berry, only 6/10 up as we look back at all the chaos back in the pack. How about 5 trucks throw him under a blanket? That's all for 7th on back.
Keith Jeffrey going to lead this group into the corner. He's going to protect that spot from Josh Clogg. Tyson Miller behind, and you can see Robert Henderson also trying to make a lane 3 wide for a moment. That does not work that well coming over the jump, but they all settle it out. Cody Weinicke going to be at the tail end of this group. This is from 7th down on through P11, but right now, Evan, they're only fighting for just kind of scraps at the back of the field, because the battle for the transfer is between Ryan Miller and Drake Matag, and they're on each other's bumper right now, but that 518 is not worried about the 51 behind. He's more worried about trying to get up 1 spot to put Crystal King onto the bubble of P5 and have Ryan Miller have to deal with somebody else.
It's all about picking and choosing your battles and trying to position yourself well, and looking to the inside that time was the 518, unable to come up with anything, and will still be in the hot seat as Ryan Miller watches on from behind. However, it's kind of tough to tell, right, where these drivers started. Miller started 6th. He's in 6th right now, but he was way back outside of the top 10 when they got through the first corner of the Land Rush start. But then everybody started to have some issues through the barn turn, checked a couple of trucks up, some guys spun out, and he took all those spots back. So despite the poor start, Miller is very much in this race, but he's going to need a little bit extra now, as maybe the closest he's been to the back of the 518 all race.
Looking off the top now, the 51 of Ryan Miller, and the 0.5 of a second gap that is going to be between himself and Drake Matag for the transfer spot. no question about it. Fastest man on the track right now. Give that liking to Connor Berry. The red plate on the number 1 signifies that he was the champion of the iRacing Off-Road Championship Series, but also signifying that he is the current points leader, as Drake Matag with an issue, slow on the outside line. He got passed by Ryan Miller and is now getting passed by Moore, and he is going to retire from this race. Drake Matag, what on earth happened to him just coming out of the final corner?
Had been in a pretty good position, and we take a second look and you'll see what happened to him here. This is the final turn. You're gonna watch some of the drivers, they get up on those barriers on the inside, but the truck is responding very strange. I would assume that maybe he had some sort of equipment failure, because you can see the steering was very rigid and that he just had to pull off. So I don't know if it was an issue with his wheels, his pedal, his monitor, but that looks like some physical hardware issues that are going to relegate one of the better trucks in this heat race to an LCQ later on, and it opens up a spot inside of your top running spots.
That opened it up for Ryan Miller, and with a 3-second gap back to Keith Jeffrey in the 88, not going to be enough for anybody to try and contend in that top 5. So it'll stay just about the same as they work their way through the final corner. Checker flag going to be shown this time by, and Connor Berry is going to take home your heat number 1 win. Aiden Beerline, what a run for the number 13 Beerline Racing entry. He will put himself into his first feature. Cody Retzlaff, Crystal King into the feature for the second time in 2 races out of the heat race, and Ryan Miller going to round out the top 5 of the first heat race of the evening from Crandon.
Big, heavy names. Your championship leader, Crystal King, 7th in the championship. They are all moving on. Retzlaff, 4th in the title fight as well. So you have a lot of heavy hitters. I talked about that risk of not making it through with all the eliminations. Well, a lot of heavy hitters dodged a bullet there. You take a look in your top 5 moving on. So Jeffrey, Clogg, Miller, Wynecki, Henderson, the top 10, all going to go to the LCQ. That's also going to include Mageshik, Ramsey, Matag, Aish, and Folsom. We'll see them a little bit later on.
Time for the starting grid of heat race number 2, and it's going to be Keaton Swain and Jacob Rafoss sharing that opening row with Nicholas Dachelet, Jamie Dunn on the 3rd and 4th spot. Bo Albert, Taylor Vandenbush going to bring us through the top 6 with Nicholas Wellhouse, Paul Mikolajczyk, Leighton Kramer, Scott Kerr, John Binder, Matthew Lind, John Nix, and Zachary Drapkin, who after a penalty from Bark River was not allowed to qualify. Green flag going to be in the air for heat race number 2, and they race down that land rush start into the first corner. Already beating and banging. That was Bo Albert off the toe of a truck, and Bo Albert's gonna save it at the back in that Altus Esports truck. But side by side, how about Jacob Rafoss, one of the Rallycross converts into the pro trucks after no Rallycross World Championship this year, and he takes the lead over Keaton Swain as they race their way down the hill for the first time, and they'll take the official green flag this time by the start finish, and it's a dive to the inside for Leighton Kramer, who wants third.
And that whole shot's going to be big for Rafoss. He was simply better off of the blocks, so was able to get that early race lead away from Keaton Swain, who had the very inside positioning, and in theory, a little bit of an advantage over the finish line. Lap number 1 now officially underway. Swain trails Rafoss up front. It's then Leighton Kramer in 2nd, Paul Mikolajczyk in 4th position, and Nicholas Dachelet running inside of the top 5. He drops a couple of spots with Jamie Dunn, the first truck on the outside looking in. P6 for the 811 machine. So these running orders going to update. By the way, you can see Drapkin currently showing at the very top of the board on the left-hand side of your screen. Scoring will update through once that truck actually gets onto the racetrack, as he had an issue on the opening lap of the race, and there it goes. So Dachelet, the first driver in, and it's going to be Dunn, the first driver out in the battle for 5-6. As we'll see what happens at the front of the field here. Here comes a challenge as Swain trying to take P1 back.
I can tell you what, Keaton Swain is tired of being the bridesmaid in every single outfit in the iRacing off-road world. He was bridesmaid to Connor Berry and Parker Retzlaff in the opening round at Bark River. Played bridesmaid to Connor Berry all throughout the World Championship. He was able to grab a Heat 3 win, his 3rd all-time in Pro 4s. Of course, a former Pro 2 champion in the virtual off-road racing series. He gets the elbows out to try and peek to the inside of Jacob Rafoss, but nothing he can do there. Battle for the transfer is between Paul Mikolajczyk and Jamie Dunn right now, as Dunn gets on the wall, sends sends that 811 way out wide, and he's going to lose a ton of time to the fighting Dashalet and Mikolajczyk for fourth right now. And as I say that, getting pushed wide goes Nicholas Dashalet and Jamie Dunn and Scott Kerr in tow, able to reel them in a little bit more.
And Dunn doing a real effective job of just allowing everybody else to get caught in the weeds with one another and picking up the pieces as they come to the 811 machine. Still needed an extra spot, but the battle for 5 and 4 just in front as Paul Mikolajczyk is going to get ahead of Dashley for the time being. So that'll drop the 23 truck now down to the bubble, maybe more. Here comes Dunn looking on the inside. Can't make it stick. Backed out of it there late, and I think that was a smart move because that lane wasn't there, and he just about hiked that truck up on the berm on the inside of the racetrack. So a three-way battle for 4, 5, and 6, and if they race each other hard enough, maybe a 4-truck battle. Scott Kerr, he's watching on from P7.
Dashley and Mikolajczyk side by side there. Jamie Dunn still trying to look to the inside. Mikolajczyk goes sideways. They're all beating and banging over each other, and here comes the Nitro Circus 84 of Scott Kerr, but he can't get close enough that time by. Dashley still holds fourth. Mikolajczyk holds the transfer. This is the battle to try and get into the feature. The battle for the heat race win right now still goes the way of Jacob Rafas, with Leighton Kramer stuck in the middle of both of these battles. He's in no man's land right now in the 960 as Swain sends it in, slides it through, and great exit for Jacob Rafas. He'll stretch a couple more tenths as Leighton Kramer also catches up to the back bumper of Keaton Swain, but it's Dashley, Mikolajczyk, 4th and 5th, with Dunn and Kerr still in tow, looking for somewhere to try and get by and into the top 5.
If they're trying to find an opening, and right now it's just too much of a gap. If you're back from this group, right, there's also Vandenbush at 8th, Binder in 9th. They're too far back, 7.5 seconds off of the race leader, and about 2 seconds back from here as there's a quick peek back at the interval that Vandenbush is dealing with, trying to catch up. You're going to need something major to happen in this group of 3 trucks if you want to catch up. And again, that door's wide open. Dashley able to jump back up from that bubble spot, kicking a 947 of Mikolajczyk back down to number 5, and Dunn just hasn't been able to get that little bit extra. They're so even on time, and with the white flag in the air, 1 lap to go. How desperate do you get if you're Jamie Dunn? How bad do you want to avoid getting relegated and having to deal with an LCQ?
This could mean the difference between getting eliminated out of the night and making the feature. We know how many drivers we're going to see in these LCQs, and we know how difficult grabbing the very, very limited LCQ spots are in this series. So who is going to make it into the feature? Dunn slides it in, but is going to slide too far and end up behind Mikolajczyk. Scott Kerr, nothing he can do. And now from P7, and the battle for the lead has stayed pretty constant with Jacob Rafas and Keaton Swain. Will Swain go for one final swing at the 13? Don't believe he's going to have an opportunity to, and don't believe he really wants to. He's still into the feature from second place, and through the left-hander they go with Jacob Rafas, newly signed this year to Jim Beaver Esports, with Apex Gaming PCs on the side, that number 13 as well. He'll work his way through the final couple of corners from Crandon, and your heat race number 2 winner will be Jacob Rafas, and the Scandinavian gets a heat race win in Vors competition. This is his first all-time.
Impressive for him. He was able to get the whole shot. He weathered the storm from Keaton Swain, leads all 4 laps en route to the checkered flag. And you can see some of the beat up cars who are just now coming to the line. That's Nick Wellhouse, who's got a lot of damage as we take a look at your Heat Race 2 results. So it is Rafas, Swain, Kramer, Dashley, and Mikolajczyk, your top 5 who will be moving on. Dunn unable to find that little bit extra. He and a fellow Canadian Scott Kerr going to head to the LCQs. Vandenbush, Binder, Nix, your top 10 finishers. Also headed on later this evening to Wellhouse, Lind, Drapkin, and Albert going to get opportunities a little bit later on.
Final heat race of the night. Heat race number 3 is ready to take to the land rush start with Trenton Briley and Parker Retzlaff first and second. Tom Grady with Sean Winkler third and fourth. Bodie Cryer, Dennis Mickelson going to round out your top 6. Nathan Metaxen, Don MacArthur, Logan Gill, and Mario Bonfante will be rounding out the opening row with Ryan Lindner, Dylan Baldwin in 11th and 12th. Corey Olson and William Stites is going to round out your full field of drivers for the Land Rush start. And we get ready to send them all into turn number 1. Green flag is in the air, and they all will barrel their way into the opening corner. And already that opening lane gonna split up a little bit. Briley gets ahead, but loose in the back. That was Sean Winkler that loses a ton of time. Trenton Briley goes for the lead. Retzlaff trying to find a way around. One driver around in the back. Nathan Metaxen is gonna lose a ton of spots. 3 wide over the jump, but it'll be Trenton Briley that is gonna get away with the early lead and around it up and into the air. I believe that was Ryan Lindner that went up and into the air. I don't know who he took with him. Corey Olson is around in the back as well, and Don MacArthur has an expired engine from some contact, but Trenton Briley, Tom Grady, and the rest of the field head their way over the Polaris RZR jump and across the line to start the opening lap.
And unfortunate for Parker Retzlaff because he was the driver who was sideways in front of the field. But you're right, the driver who got airborne was Ryan Lindner in the 230. But that was only because Lindner hit that spinning Retzlaff. So Retzlaff stays in this race, but there is a lot of damage on that O2 truck. We just talked about the impressive performance that Parker had last week in the season opener. He is damaged 2.4 seconds off of the race lead and on the bubble spot in 5th early in this 3rd and final heat. So that could be a huge story if he's not able to bounce back and keep that truck on the tracks per se.
Parker Retzlaff won heat race number 3, or heat race number 2 last time out at Bark River, and then was able to go on to win the 2nd feature race of the night. Let's see what he can do here, as side by side in front of him is Logan Gill and Bodie Cryer. Logan Gill, another new convert into off-road action. First season we're seeing him here in the virtual off-road racing series, but Bodie Cryer has been around this stuff and around this series for a long time on the iRacing service. He fights him for 3rd. Parker Retzlaff, another one of these new converts that, honestly, Evan, I understand it from the world of eNASCAR. You're very familiar with their training regimens and the amount of hundreds of hours that each of those teams and each of those drivers put in before each round of competition for the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing series. Parker Retzlaff can come out here, slide some jumpy trucks around, and have a little bit of competitive fun instead of what he's so used to every other week of the season, which is constant training at whatever track is coming up next for eNASCAR.
It's true, and he's somebody else who just has some natural talent, right? So Parker's not going to come into this and not touch these trucks at all. He's going to try to learn this racetrack, but it's not going to be going out there and putting 1,000 laps in like he would on the oval side of things, right? And that's not to say that it's not difficult to learn these off-road tracks as you ride on board with him. Looking up to 3rd place runner Bodie Cryer just in front of him. These racetracks are still very challenging to learn, but you get that big jump is when you just learn how these trucks operate underneath you, right? And then it's going to be those very minimal differences where you find those extra hundreds and those extra thousands. But the good news is off-road trucks are a full contact sport, so the funness and I think also that just natural driver ability can make up that difference. And I don't think anybody's shocked that Parker's here having a good time, and he is fast as well. Had the advantage that time by the line, but just as quickly as he got it, he loses it. Cryer goes back in front. Now he'll try to cross himself back over as he gets set to head down the back straightaway on lap 3.
This long configuration of Crandon International Raceway as well is just so fun to watch all the battles develop and exactly where they go for it. Does Parker go for a move in the left-hand hairpin? He goes wide. It looks like Cryer on the defense with a bit of a slider there, but he gets a good momentum on the outside line and is able to hold off Parker Retzlaff. This battle is inside of the transfer spots. There you can see 5th place Mario Bonfante, who is currently at the bubble. He's got a solid 1.2 second gap over Ryan Lindner. Could still go the way of the 230, but at this point, he's going to need a little bit of a miracle if he's going to want to catch Bonfante, or at least a mistake from the number 37. But out in front, rigid colors on the 39 in sim, 17 on the car of Trenton Briley, who has never won a virtual off-road racing series heat, LCQ, or feature, and as he takes the white flag, is looking for number 1 here tonight from Crandon.
and it was really an impressive start for him, mainly because it wasn't an impressive start for him, Josh. He got off of the blocks really slow, and about halfway through that land rush start, he was about 5th in line, but that's when that inside came to advantage, right? 3rd best in qualifying earlier tonight. He earned that inside positioning, and it was once everybody else started to bounce around and really bounce into each other that he found himself in front and was able to clear as they headed off and into the barn turn on that opening lap of the race that he has not looked back. We have seen some tightly contested battles for the top spot in these heats. This ain't one of them. Briley is 1.7 seconds to the good. It's been a steady run for Grady behind. Even further down, challenging each other for 3rd. The battle between Cryer and Retzlaff will continue, and Retzlaff with the upper hand. Contact in front, though, still side by side.
Cryer wants to hold that podium spot in the heat. He goes to the defense on the inside. Retzlaff gonna try and go wide, cut back in for the 2. He's gonna go for it, still side by side as they go over the Polaris RZR jump. But at the front, Trenton Briley is Avor's winner in heat race number 3. A great run for the number 39 as Bodie Cryer is gonna get the final word on Retzlaff. They both go into the feature, but Bodie Cryer will have just the slightly better starting spot over the O2.
Had the inside positioning as they went off to that final corner, and it pays off big. So Briley and Grady well ahead of the rest of the pack. Your top 2. Cryer edges Retzlaff for 3rd and 4th, and a quiet P5 for Mario Bonfante Jr., who takes home the final transfer spot. That'll send Lindner, Baldwin, Metoxen, Winkler, and Mickelson through your top 10, along with the final couple of drivers, Gill, MacArthur, Olsen, and Stites. Those are the drivers headed to the LCQs.
And let's begin those LCQs with our first LCQ. Top 2 are going to advance into the feature race, and we've got 14 drivers that'll be vying for that spot. Keith Jeffrey, Ryan Leiner, Scott Kerr, Tyson Miller, Nathan Metoxen through the top 5, with John Binder going to be starting P6 with Robert Henderson, Dennis Mickelson there P8, Nicholas Wellhouse, Nathan Ramsey through to the top 10, Don MacArthur, Zachary Drapkin, Danny Age going to be through the top 13. It looks like William Stites is not going to take the green flag here in the LCQ. We are green flag racing and underway in the first of 2 LCQs tonight. And as they feed their way into the opening quarter, how about the multiple truck length lead by Keith Jeffrey? What a start for the 88. He had some struggles at Park River as we've got drama behind. One driver up and over, that's Tyson Miller, and a big hit to the wall.
Miller still flipping. He's not the only one involved as Nathan Ramsey's spun off of the racetrack. Nathan Metoxen had issues even earlier on down the road, and it is the most chaotic of the land rush starts so far. Nobody should be surprised because these drivers are fighting for their lives. You cannot compete for a top spot in the championship unless you are in the feature week in and week out. Another truck up and on its side and over. That time it's Daniel H in the back.
Danny H up and over to his side doing some sidewalls, but at the moment, we're only taking the top 2. Right now, it's Jeffrey and Drapkin. Remember the story for Zachary Drapkin in the 56. Had a penalty from our racing officials after Bark River. He could not qualify for his heat race. He had to just lay over, not qualify at all in the qualifying session. Now he's trying to fight to stay alive and to get a spot in the feature. He's got to get by now. He's got to hold that second spot. Tyson Miller, Keith Jeffrey, or Tyson Miller, excuse me, and it looked like Nathan Metoxen or Danny Age being scored a little bit higher up than they actually were. Now everything will go back to normal and we'll be able to show you that timing tower, but at the moment, as we go through LCQ1, it's Jeffrey and Drapkin at the front, MacArthur in 3rd, Wellhouse able to get by Scott Kerr for 4th, and that'll push the 84 Nitro Circus entry to 5th. But what a wild start in the land rush. Let's go back, see exactly what happened, because it was nothing but drama to begin this race. I mean, multiple drivers going over, up, and onto their lid off of this opening lap, Evan.
And it started right there, right? A couple of big hits, but then when they funnel into the corner, you just got too many trucks out of shape. There's the early rollover in the back. One truck goes off and out of play, and there's the other tag. And that big rollover that we saw, 2 more trucks into the outside wall. That's about a half the field that gets involved in some significant contact. And when you land on your lid, your night is done just like that. And again, they weren't done yet. They continued to beat and bang their way through the field. You can tell that the desperation level higher than it was in those heats, because you cannot afford to routinely miss out on some of the feature races if you want to be a player in this championship. But there's drivers in this, Joshua, who feel like they should be in that features. Nicholas Wellhouse, who gridded up 7th in his heat race, right? Wasn't able to advance after an incident. You got Dennis Mickelson, who gridded up 6th in his heat race. He had an accident that dropped him back. So there's plenty of drivers in this LCQ who feel like they have the speed to get the job done. And you can see the drivers were not willing to give as much on that land rush as maybe they had previously.
And we're only taking 2 drivers out of these LCQs, which at least in this one, we had 14 drivers slated to take the green flag. We only had 13, but even then, we're eliminating 12, now 11 drivers from competition. I mean, that is a lot of drivers, and we're going from maybe having 12 drivers in a heat to then taking the top 5. Okay, we're sending 7 to the LCQ. Now we're going to send over 10 drivers home, and they're not going to be able to compete in either feature tonight, which is the main place that these drivers are going to earn points. You do not earn points in qualifying, or you earn points in qualifying, you don't earn points in the heats or LCQs. So now at this point, these drivers need to try and get into the feature to earn those points to have a championship hope. And right now, for anybody third on back, it's looking pretty grim with a 2-second gap between Don MacArthur and Zachary Drapkin.
It just seems like that difference in speed is right on that cut line, right? We've seen that in a couple of these heat races where your top 5 just have more than the drivers further on back, and it just appears to be the case here. And now you have to make sure you mind your P's and Q's if you're Jeffrey and Drapkin up at the front of the field, right? You talk about that nearly now 3-second advantage, but they both want to beat each other in this battle for the win in the LCQ, right? They want to make themselves have the best starting position they possibly can for that feature later on, but at what cost? White flag, 1 more lap to go. How aggressive do you get, knowing that if you overstep that boundary, MacArthur really isn't that far back? There he is in the distance to pick up the pieces. How smart and how much risk do you want to put into this right here, right now?
The only difference in between these 2 positions is starting grid for the feature, and it's a hip check from Drapkin to Jeffrey. They slam into each other, but how about that move for the 56 is Zachary Drapkin? It was as clean as he could have gotten it for a slide job, and it worked perfectly. Not even any cosmetic damage to the number 88 of Jeffrey. He is going to grab that lead. Now, can Keith Jeffrey and the 88 fight back, and will they end up making a mistake and welcoming Don MacArthur into the top 2 through the final 2 corners? Protective goes Drapkin, to the inside goes Jeffrey, pushes him wide, and he's gonna try and go for it in the number 88. He'll have the outside line, but he's gonna cover it off before they even get to the final corner. Drapkin on the inside pushes the 88 up the track, side by side to the end of LCQ1. Who got it? Keith Jeffrey by a 1/10 and a half.
And Jeffrey had the advantage into the last corner. He got the push from Drapkin, but on the outside, took it back in the final moments, and Jeffrey leads all 4 laps of LCQ number 1 to advance to the feature. Zachary Drapkin will join him. Those 2 very even on a pace, and that means that MacArthur, Wellhouse, Kerr, Lindner, Mickelson, Henderson, Aish, and Matoxin, your top 10, along with the final 3 in Binder, Milner, and Ramsey, will not advance, as many of those trucks still coming to the checkered flag now, and they're going to have to hope that they have better luck at We Go Racing next time in a couple of weeks at Wild West.
Last couple of drivers coming across the start-finish line to complete LCQ number 1. And we will now get you the starting grid for LCQ number 2. Still taking only the top 2 into the feature. It'll be Jamie Dunn, Josh Clogg on the front row with Dylan Baldwin, Taylor Vandenbush, Cody Weinecke, and Sean Winkler through the top 6 with John Nix, Cameron McKeshik, Logan Gill, and Matthew Lind going to round out your front row of the Land Rush start. And back from there to be Drake Matag, Corey Olson through the top 12. Bo Albert, Rory Folsom going to round out the entire grid. And a bit of an uncharacteristic place to find Bo Albert, tail end of the field in the second LCQ. Let's see what he's got to try and bring to the table as we are green flag racing. Bo Albert only 2 races now deep into Pro Truck competition, and he's going to try and look for a spot in the feature tonight. He's on the back row as they're all hitting each other from the back, and here we go. Almost up and over goes Bo Albert. He is still sideways. He tries to gather it up. One driver pirouetting through the air as multiple drivers caught up in incidents, but Jamie Dunn, the Canadian, gets away with the lead. Clog to second, Matag to fight.
Another sloppy start, and Weinecke the big loser with that one. The 903, who, as you saw, went up and over. Now Dylan Baldwin has some issues. He's going to go off track further on down the road, so it's going to thin the herd a little bit here at the front of the field as they're all chasing Jamie Dunn to the start of lap number 1. No 2-truck pull away this time. It's Matag now breaking through for second, and Josh Clogg now watching on from a third, not willing to give this one up. And you talked about Bo Albert being stuck back there in traffic. That's after being involved in an accident that took him out of heat race number 2. Well, he didn't gain all that much from the start, still relegated 3 seconds off in P8. That'd be a big story if he can't find himself to the top 2.
Contact for second, and almost up and over. He will go up and over. That is Josh Clogg to Drake Matag, who goes up and over and outside of the limits of the track, and that has pushed him into the pit lane. From second to out of the race from one hip check from Josh Clogg. Drake Matag is out of this one. Let's take a look at this replay because it was simple contact that got him flipped up and over and just right outside the racing limits, and that's all it took.
It really wasn't an overly bullish move. He certainly threw it down to the inside, but the way that those trucks, kind of lean on the right side when they're going through the corner like that, and the left side gets, loosened up, and it's really light. He just kind of got him in the tire, and he about 2-wheeled that thing all the way to the fence and out of the race. I don't think it was anything, again, out of bounds by Clogg, but just a really tough end for him, and Matag gets booted out of this LCQ in the blink of an eye. So Clogg up to P2 now, and now Taylor Vandenbush, the first driver on the outside looking in as the 89 truck wants a tad bit more. And here's the view from behind Vandenbush. You've also got more challengers with Sean Winkler and company trying to get into this thing. Let's see what they can do as they head down to the hairpin.
And Evan, I think it's something to say about the amount of talent that we have seen very recently come into the virtual off-road racing series. Because remember, Taylor Vandenbush, Sean Winkler, both third and fourth in the LCQ, outside looking in, 2 of the veterans of this series and 2 drivers that have been around pretty much since the beginning of the virtual off-road racing series. And they're on the outside looking in the LCQ. Didn't make it through their heats and got relegated to the last chance qualifier. And they both may not make it to the feature. I think that goes to show the amount of talent that we have seen come in especially in the recent months off of the World Championship, but also as eShort Course as a whole has really grown on the iRacing service with the addition of Crandon, with the addition of Bark River, with the addition of the Pro 2 Lite to give drivers kind of a rookie to pro licensed ladder in the eShort Course world in iRacing. So many drivers are now coming in, and they've got speed that the veterans are going to have to try and deal with.
That's going to be the funnest thing about watching this virtual off-road racing series Pro 4 championship this year is that next wave come up and challenge the hierarchy of some of the very best on the short courses. on the iRacing service. Working lap number 3 of 4 though right now. It's settled down up front. Dunn's pretty comfortable, having led the opening 2 laps of this race, and Josh Klog has done a real good job of pulling from Vandenbush. You can see Vandenbush in the green and black truck, third in line there. That gap has grown, and I don't know if I'd go as far to say that Klog can challenge for the win in this LCQ, but Josh Klog at least is the fastest truck on the racetrack, and that should be enough to keep him above the elimination line as they look for the one to go this time through.
Jamie Dunn still leads the way, still looking for their first Vors win of all time. They have never been able to walk away with a heat race, an LCQ, or a feature. They look for LCQ 2 here. Josh Klog in second. I mentioned him, and it's such a, honestly, a half funny and a half sad story where in last season of the iRacing Rallycross World Championship qualifiers, he didn't qualify for the World Championship by 1 point. And he got relegated back to the qualifying series for the next season of Rallycross World Championship. That unfortunately never happened. But he is a wizard when it comes to the off-road racing, whether it's Rallycross, whether it's pro trucks. He knows how to work it, and he struggled a little bit in the Pro 4s and Pro 2s more so than the rally side. And I think with this LCQ run and the minimizing of mistakes, he's really coming into his own and is looking for a spot in the feature.
And doing a good job of hanging on as we head through the final couple of corners. All you got to do is keep it clean. Don't put a foot wrong. And there is clean racetrack up the road for both Dunn and Klog. Both had the benefit of some pretty good starting spots. They were both on the very inside of that 10-wide land rush start. The first and second qualifiers, they had both just missed out by a spot apiece in their heats a little bit earlier on. But in the LCQ2, they take the final 2 spots home. Dunn and Klog will go feature racing. More battles to the line as it will be Bo Albert sneaking to top 5 over John Nix in the final corner.
Unfortunately, it's not going to do much for Bo Albert in the way of qualifying for the feature race. He ends up in 5th, but we're only taking the top 2, unlike our heat races. Jamie Dunn and Josh Klog have qualified for the feature with Vandenbush, Winkler, Albert, Nix, McGeshik, Lind, Gill, and Weinecke heading home now after this LCQ. Corey Olson, Dylan Baldwin, Drake Mathagan, Rory Folsom also running into problems. Folsom not taking the green flag in this feature race. And we get set for our first of 2 feature races, which will have the very signature competition caution at halfway. 10 laps in this feature. End of lap 5, we'll have that competition caution. It'll bunch up the entire field. And once we're at the end of this 10 laps, we're going to go racing for yet another 10 with its own independent qualifying with these 16 drivers that qualified for this feature. We won't waste any more time. Let's take a look at your starting grid for our first of 2 feature races tonight. It's Connor Berry that'll start on the pole with Jacob Rafoss, Trenton Briley, Aiden Beerline, and Keaton Swain rounding out your top 5. Tom Grady will start in P6 with Cody Retzlaff, Leighton Kramer, Bodie Cryer, and Crystal King through the top 10. Nicholas Dachelet and Parker Retzlaff 11th and 12th. Ryan Miller, Paul Mikolajczyk, Mario Bonfante, Keith Jeffrey, Jamie Dunn, and Zachary Drapkin through the top 18. And rounding out your field, it will be Josh Klog, P19 on the starting grid, as we get ready to go racing for feature race number 1. This is where the points start to get serious. This is where these drivers look for gold, and we are ready to take the green flag in the land rush start. Connor Berry gonna lead him into the opening corner, and we're racing for feature race number 1 from Crandon. 10 wide as they fight their way into the opening corner. One driver loose in the back, but away with the lead. It's gonna be Connor Berry versus Jacob Rafoss. 2 very, very young racers, both from completely opposite ends of the world, racing at the front of this field. And here comes Rafoss to try and battle Briley for second. He'll get away away with it with Briley and Cryer side by side for second. A little bit of bumping around further back, but everybody for the most part keeps it clean off the start. It's still Barry versus Rafas at the front with Connor Barry holding all the aces.
And who would have thought at the biggest field of the afternoon that it would be one of the cleaner starts all night long, as up front it is the number one of Connor Barry who gets us underway, starting lap number 1 of 10 in this first feature race of the night from the big house. They're going to go down to the slow part of the racetrack. Right hand turn number 2, almost the entirety of a hairpin right here in 3 as the challenge comes from Rafas. Now the long run down the back to the hairpin turn. Barry, Rafas, Briley, Retzlaff, and Cryer, your top 5, all single file and stretch it out. 18 truck strong.
Fighting their way now off of the corner, and it's still Connor Barry that's gonna have a really good run through that whoop section. Has a 4/10 gap over Jacob Rafas in second. Trenton Briley holds third with Parker Retzlaff, feature race 2 winner from Bark River in fourth. Bodie Cryer gonna round out the top 5 as they fight their way now, slamming back to the dirt. And they'll go through the final sector here at Crandon. They'll go on a lap number 2. They'll start to space out a little bit, Evan, but we still have that competition yellow on the horizon, which we have seen it before. It really changes the dynamic of these races on who exactly is going to get the win. Because normally, without that competition yellow pulling away at the front, I wouldn't really bet against the leader if they've got over a second gap. Well, now you can't do that until after that yellow flag has come out and until after the restart, because we have seen it many times. A pass on the restart can mean big.
And what you're looking for is who could make gains in the midfield. And the drivers that jump off of the page immediately, to me, Parker Retzlaff and Keith Jeffrey. Retzlaff, the big one, though, started in 12th. But remember, that's not actually that bad, because that meant he was the second to the inside on row 2. What he did by getting that qualifying spot is he jumped himself up to P4 just like that. That is 8 positions gained. And you might not have thought of it when we went through the grid, but Parker Retzlaff is very much back and in this race, looking to follow up that incredible performance from a week ago.
Whether it's short track racing or short course racing, Parker Retzlaff is going to have speed. But right now, controlling the field, it's Connor Barry and Jacob Rafas with 3/10 separating the two of them. And I gotta think Rafas is not gonna want to be that aggressive just yet. And I mean, these are honestly 2 drivers, Evan, that are both rising stars of the dirt road license class in 2 separate sectors of it. Jacob Rafas, the rising star of the last season of the iRacing Rallycross World Championship, put in so much time, qualified through the qualifying series in 2021, and then walked away with a feature race win in the season and some really good points, and was able to keep his World Championship license as well if the Rallycross World Championship were to come back this year. Connor Barry, the rising star through the iRacing Off-Road Championship Series with a couple of feature races, and oh, by the way, a championship as well. So to see these 2 drivers now fighting at the front, 2 teammates as well, is really good to see, with Connor Barry and Jacob Rafas both being, I believe, either under 8. I know Jacob Rafas is under 18, and I believe so is Connor Barry.
And you can see it's a very distinct 4-truck advantage now as the gap sits between Retzlaff and Cryer, 4th and 5th on your Racecraft TV leaderboard. But at the very top spot, Connor Barry has been unable to walk away. Again, Rafas has been so impressive tonight. Remember, Rafas started second in that second heat race, but took an early race lead, led every single lap on a route to the victory. So these are all your heat race winners fighting in 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, plus the dark horse in Retzlaff. As I mentioned, use the land rush start to his advantage and get into the conversation here. Working lap number 4 of 10. Remember, at that halfway point is when we'll see that competition yellow. So if you're Barry or anybody else here, you don't really want to waste your energy on trying to pull away. You're going to try to manage gaps, not take unnecessary risks. You're looking for track positions, not intervals right now, closing in on that midway break.
It will be at the end of lap number 5, so we still have about a lap and a half until we see that competition yellow come into play. Dashalet with another slider through the hairpin. He's been doing that all night long, and that time it did work to his favor to get by the number 88 of Keith Jeffrey. And here comes Cody Retzlaff to the outside to try and get by the 88 as well. This is fighting for P6. Now remember, with that second feature, it has its own independent qualifying. We will not have these positions in the feature influence anything that happens in the second feature. All this is doing is going to give drivers more points, and that's what they're fighting over, with Retzlaff giving Nicholas Dashalet a hip check to push him out of the way, and Keith Jeffrey right on around. And oh, by the way, here comes the 21 of Keaton Swain to try and get a little bit dirty at the front, but he's going to make a crucial mistake and be bouncing off the outside wood wall.
And that was uncharacteristic by Keaton Swain, and really an unforced error. He just drifted to the left, coming over the jump, maybe thought that he was going to be hit by Nicholas Dashalet, who made a bit of a sidestep there, but it put him off and into the grass, and he did lose a lot of time on that K-rail, but he's lucky he wasn't shish kebabbed by it. It cost him about 5-6 spots, but that truck carries on, and all the positions that Swain had worked so hard to make up now fall behind and to the wayside. As you saw for a moment there, Swain back in now position number 10. Up front, Barry still trying to hold off Rafos, closing in on the midway break. It's another two-truck battle now between Briley and Retzlaff behind them, with a couple of good passing opportunities coming up.
Let's see if Rafos is going to try and pass before that competition yellow. That's how we saw Parker Retzlaff walk away with the win in the second feature. He passed before that competition yellow on the final corner before that competition yellow and was able to walk away with the win, leading every single lap in the second feature until the checkered flag. Through the final corner, Rafos going to get a little aggressive with it, but won't be aggressive enough. End of lap 5. Competition yellow is out. Now, we will not bring the iRacing official pace truck onto the track. Everybody will slow down to a pace speed, and then they'll be able to restart in the restart zone, which is going to be past where we began the race in the Land Rush start, and it will be just about underneath the Red Bull banner. So coming through on the short course, the short layout of Crandon, I should say, off of turn number 1. Basically, the exit of turn 1 is where that restart zone will be, so it's right under the Red Bull banner. So they'll have plenty of time leading up to the start-finish line as well, Evan, to have a restart. And Rafos is going to get bunched up because he might have a really good opportunity to pass Connor Berry here if he catches him sleeping off the start.
It's going to be a very different complexion of what we saw in the Land Rush, because they're all going to be bumper to bumper, and everybody's going to be looking to take an aggressive move to the inside. It could get wild, but these drivers much more in control this time through. They know it's going to be their last real good opportunity to make some headway here in this first of 2 features tonight from iRacing's virtual Crandon Off-Road Raceway. Green flag in the air. It's a good jump for Barry. He maintains. No big losers either as they're stacked on top of each other, making the run down to turn 7.
Does Rafos go for the move yet? He's going to stay behind the number 1 of Connor Berry. But what is everyone doing behind? Dashalet chooses the inside line, slides up, give a big shove to Bodie Cryer, and he is able to slot himself behind Parker Retzlaff in 5th. And further back, they're still beating and banging for positions as Jacob Rafos trying to peek to the inside of Barry. Can't do it. 4 to go. Time running out. And here comes Trenton Briley to try and spoil the party.
I think the Briley and Retzlaff camp needed to get something off of the restart, because we saw Barry and Rafos pull away as we got to the end of the first half of this feature race. I don't know if they have the pace necessary to challenge them now, and you weren't able to get the track position, so now you just need to stay within striking distance. You want to be close enough to where if those two start fighting, you are there to get into the mix as well. You saw look to the inside there. Retzlaff got to the bottom, but it was a better run off the corner. Briley's got the advantage through the high speed turn number 5. Still Barry, Rafos, Briley, Retzlaff, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Can anybody find some extra? Next time by, going to be 3 to go.
Time running out in the first feature race of the evening as Rafas gonna try and look back to the back bumper of Connor Berry. How about this run from Trenton Briley? One of his best performances in virtual off-road racing series history. And how about him running edge of the podium right now in third, with Parker Retzlaff, second feature race winner from Bark River behind, looking for more spots inside the top 5, with Nicholas Dashley in the 23 sitting behind, waiting in the wings as well. And how about Keith Jeffrey, who is now at the tail end of this front group? 2.6 seconds going to separate the top 6 as they race their way back down the back straightaway.
Highest speed portion of the racetrack as these trucks go above 100 miles an hour, and then they're going to slow them down all the way to the low 20s. If you're willing to make a slide job, that's the place to do it. A couple of haymakers back in traffic. Keaton Swain put quite the throw on somebody. You can see all the way through the field, all the dust kicking up. That is the place to be aggressive, but again, still nothing up front. And now you're going to make a calculation. If you're a Fos in second, what do you risk? You're going to have a good points night here, but that win could go a long way. How much do you want to risk for Connor Berry? Because we all know you can't throw it away and chalk this one up as a mulligan. You throw away this P2 finish, you're never going to get those points back in this championship. So he has to decide, am I going to force the issue, or am I just going to apply that steady pressure? And if there's an opening, go for it there. You can see Berry obviously a little bit comfortable that he's not going to get a shunt from the 13 because he left that inside tantalizingly open when they went through turn number 8 now on lap number 9.
2 to go, side by side, further on back. This is Bodie Cryer and Cody Retzlaff for P7. Up front, 4/10's going to separate those two leaders is Keaton Swain in the 21, who lost a ton of positions off of that start, trying to regain them all. Currently sits P9, trying to get by the duo in front. Keaton Swain currently coming into tonight, sitting in third in the point standings. This is not going to do him much good in those points, but with the white flag coming out this time by, Connor Berry and Jacob Rafas have set the pace since the drop of the green flag and since we began the first feature race of the evening. Can Rafas make any moves on Berry? How aggressive is he willing to be? Off of the first race for Jacob Rafas, he did not score enough points to be inside the top 10 of our point standings. So we know that Rafas wants as many points as he can possibly get. How aggressive is he going to be for the win of this feature? White flag this time, and Connor Berry sets the pace.
Connor Berry has been oh so good tonight. He dominated earlier when he was number 1 in the qualifying session. He was number 1 in practice. He led every single lap in a heat race number 1. Now he's trying to do the same in the first feature this season at the Big House. It's also the biggest advantage he's had tonight, and now's an opportunity. If Rafos wants to get sloppy, he does not force the issue, stays in line. His focus may now shift to defending ahead of Briley and Retzlaff as Connor Berry with a handful of corners left to go.
5/10's going to separate these two. And what's on the table for Connor Berry other than extending his points lead? Well, this is going to be his 4th all-time Pro 4 feature race win, and it is going to be all-time 7th feature race win in all of Vor's competition. He won feature race number 1 at Bark River. Rafas can't do anything through the final couple of corners, and across the start-finish line, he'll keep the red plate as he doubles up on feature race number 1 wins. Connor Berry wins from Crandon.
What an impressive drive for Connor Berry as he came into tonight as the championship leader with a lot of questions of that new guard, the new faces who would come and challenge to take that throne from him, and he answers with a resounding, dominant performance as the Californian is perfect so far in week 2.
He edges out Jacob Rafos by only 0.7 of a second at the end of that one. Trenton Briley, Parker Retzlaff, Nicholas Dachelet going to round out the top 5 with Keith Jeffrey, Bodie Cryer, Cody Retzlaff, Zachary Drampkin, and Leighton Kramer through to the top 10. Back from there, Tom Grady, Aiden Beerline, Josh Glog, Crystal King, Paul Mikolajczyk, Ryan Miller, Jamie Dunn, Mario Bonfante Jr., and Keaton Swain with, I believe, either a wreck towards the end of that race or possibly a penalty that has put him to the last position in the results and 1 lap down as well. He might have gotten into an incident. Not sure what happened to Keaton Swain, but that will round out our first feature race of the evening. But don't worry, we're not done with the racing for tonight. We still have one more race up, and it is the second feature race of the evening. Now, all that is going to come down is the second feature race, and we'll be right back here on Racecraft TV with coverage of the second feature race of the night. You're tuning in to the virtual off-road racing series live on Racecraft TV. Trying to keep that gap up is seeming to be a little bit difficult for Edmondson. He's been the bridesmaid before. This is unfortunately a familiar spot for Josh Edmondson. Finished 3rd at Bark River 1 week ago, and we've unfortunately seen Edmondson just be second fiddle a lot. He can get up to the front. We know he can run up there. Just in the past, he has had so many fast drivers to deal with that unfortunately he's dealing with them again here in this series as they continue to race on. It'll be 4 to go this time by, and this is really the big test. Can Edmondson make the move on Plumlee, and how aggressive is he willing to get to make the move? He peaks down to the bottom, but the same thing we've been talking about, getting those tires to grip up and keeping the momentum, can't do it through the middle of that final corner. With 4 to go, Plumlee's back out in front.
And very impressed that these drivers have kept it clean thus far in this battle for 1, 2, and 3. And when you include Keaton Swain in the mix as well, you talk about who finished 1, 2, 3, 4 last week. Swain 1, Barry 2, Edmondson 3, and Plumlee 4. Josh, it's the same cast of characters fighting for the race win this afternoon from virtual Crandon International Raceway. Edmondson, though, still so close. I mentioned off at the top of the show, Cam Peterson, the defending Pro 2 champ both in 2020 and 2021. Much of his wins came at the hands of Josh Edmondson. So Edmondson is tired of finishing second, and he is a serious title contender in this 2021 Pro 4 championship. He got close that time in 6th, but it's very clear Edmondson has got confidence in his race pace, and he does not feel like he needs to move Plumlee quite yet. This time by, though, the go over the RCR ramp, right-hander, where you got to watch that inside wall in turn number 8, and they'll see 3 laps to go. How long does the patience last?
He's got to stay patient at least on 3 laps to go. Once we get to 2 to go, the attitude definitely will change. But if I'm Edmondson right now, I'm thinking about where I want to make that move. Where can I make that move for the race win? With Plumlee in the lead right now, he needs to try and get close enough to at least be within contention for the race win. Here's the dive to the inside for Edmondson. Now, can he complete the pass? They're side by side down the straightaway. The momentum on the outside line holds Plumlee to the front of the pack.
Tried his best to park it on the left rear, but Plumlee stays in front, and I think that switch has flipped for Edmondson. If he makes any sort of misstep, his teammate Connor Barry is right there in 3rd to pick up the pieces. So is Swain, as Barry got a little bit of that outside fence in turn number 6. Seems to be one of the most common places that people are taking some missteps this afternoon. A little bit water for the top 2. Barry looking underneath, can't make it happen, and this turn 8 may be the deciding factor on the last lap of this race. It's one of the slowest corners on the racetrack. They're into the 20s as they come through. 2 laps to go. Plumlee is still hanging on, but it is for dear life as Josh Edmondson is turning up the heat.
trying to get that lead is Edmondson. Don't count out Barry behind him. Don't count out Swain either. These three drivers are racing all out to try and catch Christopher Plumlee at the front of the field. It's 1 to go this time by. It'll be the white flag lap, the real test of these drivers. Edmondson back to the bottom. He door slams the 36 of Plumlee. More contact for Barry. He falls victim to Swain. They bump once more as they go back into the corner. Here comes Swain into the picture in the battle for the lead.
He'll put a door on Josh Edmondson, but Edmondson shakes that one off. What a battle for the top four. Now a big mistake for Edmondson. He gets dropped back. Swain will slide back into P4, but now here he comes on the inside of Connor Berry. No, fakes it out. He'll go the long way around. Plumlee gets doored by Connor Berry as he hangs on. 3 wide for second. Here comes Edmondson again on the inside. White flag this time. It's 3 wide for the race lead.
Where did Connor Berry come from? 3 wide to the inside line, trying to take that lead. Plumlee trying to force him off. Berry's cattywampus over the jump. He slams Plumlee again. 1, 2, 3 times. Berry's starting to go around. Here comes Felix Waugh. He's into the picture. Plumlee's gonna fall middle 3 wide, back into P4, and Josh Edmondson grabs the lead. Here comes Swain, side by side with Connor Berry, forces him into the corner. Swain's gonna take the lead. Here comes Edmondson to fight back on the inside.
Swain went for the slide, but he could only block Barry. Edmondson got the nose in front again on the right-hand side. Big, high-speed right-hander as Josh Edmondson desperately trying to hang on. Swain now in second, Barry third. Now Plumlee wants to get back into the mix, and Felix Waugh has joined the party again. Side by side for the race lead. 2 corners left. Swain on the bottom will try to set himself up. He's got a nose in front, but Edmondson over the jump will be on the inside for the deciding turn number 8. One last chance, and it is Josh Edmondson. What a win at Crandon.
What a way to finish. Edmondson, Swain, and Barry the top 3. Unbelievable final 2 laps there, Evan. We had 5 trucks in contention for the race win at one point. Unbelievable, but problems on the final lap for Christopher Plumlee. Take a look at the incident. He goes from hero to 0, P14 at the end for Plumlee.
Modified DLC pack also features the Federated Auto Parts Raceway and I-55 and will be available for digital purchase on the PlayStation and Xbox stores this month.
Conditions off the pavement are always changing, so why settle for a light bar that just turns on and off? The Rigid Adapt is a revolutionary new light bar that will automatically select from 8 beam patterns that range from a widespread 90-degree flood to a 15-degree spot based on your vehicle's speed. Try that with your knockoff light bar. A dash-mounted controller allows the user to toggle between adaptive mode, beam patterns, and RGBW accent lighting. With Adapt, it's easier than ever to own the night.
drivers, start your engine!
For the race win at Daytona, 3 wide underneath the photo finish.
Go up the middle, 3 wide, and they're gonna crash. Crandon and hard into the wall.
5 wide, 6 cars wide. Oh, there's the bobble. Zelensky looks low. Wilson throws the block.
Irwin goes down to the bottom. They touch once, twice. Bobby Zelensky is headed to Phoenix.
They're still beating and banging.
Oh my
and to the line.
It's
Casey Kerwin. Graham Bolin wins at Worldwide Technology Raceway. And Wilson will fight for the eNASCAR title in 2022.
It was an exciting first feature race of the night, but now it's time for the second. We welcome you back to the Racecraft TV broadcast booth and welcome you back to coverage of the virtual off-road racing series Pro 4 Championship live from iRacing's virtual Crandon International Raceway. Joshua Lee back with you here in the booth. Alongside me, as always, is Evan Pasoko. And Evan, that first feature race really showed us that these drivers came out here to play, and they are racing as aggressive as I think we've ever seen in this competition.
It goes to show that guys like Connor Berry are feeling the pressure from the young blood that is coming through this series, but in the end, they couldn't best the driver of the #1 truck. Connor Berry taking home the opening to feature race win of the afternoon, and now he'll try to go for the back-to-back win. We saw Racecraft steal one last week. He's going to be in the conversation, and the good news now is, unlike in that first heat, Josh, which was set, of course, by qualifying through the heats and through the LCQ, that's going to get shook up right now as we head into the second feature.
Gives the drivers that are really good in the hot laps and maybe not so good in race pace through the heats or LCQs a little bit of a better opportunity to walk away with a good starting spot here in the second feature race. As we get ready to go racing for that second feature race, we'll take a look at your starting grid for the second feature race of action. And the second feature race is looking a lot like the starting grid for that first feature race, and well, actually the finishing results for that first feature race. It's Connor Berry that is going to start on the pole. Aiden Beerline in second place. Or Jacob Rafas actually in second place. We'll get our timing and scoring updated here in just a moment, but right now we take a look at that land rush start and everybody lining up ready to go. It's Rafas in second, then Keaton Swain, Parker Retzlaff, Nicholas Dashley through to the top 5, Trenton Briley, Crystal King, Cody Retzlaff, Jamie Dunn, and Keith Jeffrey through the top 10. Aiden Beerline with Zachary Drapkin, Tom Grady, Bodie Cryer, and Ryan Miller the top 15. Josh Klog, Paul Mikolajczyk, Leighton Kramer, and Mario Bonfante will round out your field as we wait on all the rest of the drivers to hit to the starting grid and we get ready to go racing for the second feature race of the night. We saw some very intense action in the first feature race. Now I think the big question is, what are we going to see here in the second one? We saw some pretty even racing in the Bark River features. Feature race number 1 was hectic, so was feature race number 2. What can we expect to see here in feature race number 1? Feature race number 2 off of feature race number 1. Green flag is in the air. We are racing from Bark River for the second feature race of the night. And as they race down into the land rush start, everybody tries to funnel their way in, and it's not going to go well for many drivers at the back, but at the front, side by side for the race lead, that is Connor Berry versus Jacob Rafas, as one driver up and over, flipping in the background.
Several drivers now out of this race early as they went barrel rolling in the runoff to the first couple of corners. So several drivers out of this run early. Up front, though, a move on the inside and to the top spot goes Jacob Rafos, takes the lead away from Connor Berry. First time anybody's done that tonight.
First time, I believe, we've seen a lead change tonight as well at the front of the field in any of our heats, LCQs, or feature. After that land rush start, been pretty consistent with the drivers at the front of the field. So now, where we sit, it is Jacob Rafos in the lead. Back from there, Connor Berry, Trenton Briley, Josh Clogan, Aiden Beerline through the top 5. Remember, even though we had our own independent qualifying, this is its own independent race session as well. Still the same drivers we had in feature race 2, except -1. It looks like Mario Bonfante was not able to take to the starting grid, as well as same competition yellow. We will have that competition caution at the end of lap 5, but these drivers are getting aggressive early. 3 wide between Retzlaff, Cryer, and Dunn.
And it's swinging on the outside there for Dunn, who tries to get the upper hand. Going to set him up well as he now ends up on the inside and is going to take the advantage through the barn turn. So a pretty good negotiation there for Jamie Dunn, up 2 spots to the number 7 spot. Cryer stays behind. Now look at the cross back over down on the inside of turn number 7. 3 wide they go, as way on the bottom of the racetrack is that Retzlaff. No, it's Tom Grady. He'll get forced out. Look out! Into the outside wall, and a huge hit sends Grady upside down.
That was a massive hit for Tom Grady, and you can see him lending us his webcam tonight, only driver to do so as well, and he goes up and over flipping, and a little bit of disappointment on his face as well. Let's see if we can find out what happened to Tom Grady. That was a bit of a quick wreck and a bit of a surprising one as well. Middle 3 with Dunn or outside 3 with Dunn and Cryer, and hits that wood wall, the same one that Keaton Swain hit earlier, Evan, but he ends up getting the much worse end of the stick there.
He caught the blunt end of it, and it sent him up and over, and Grady was doing a great job up until that point, actually making up positions, and that's going to take away all that progress. It is heavily damaged. Truck is now way down in 15th position. Meanwhile, back at the front of the field, it is still Rafos in control. Connor Berry second, chasing. Funny enough, the 13 truck has done this a couple of times. He won his heat race after starting second, but Connor Berry does not want him to lead every lap this time. It's a good challenge up the inside, but it means he's going to be going the long way around in turn number 8. Rafos able to establish the positioning, and Jacob stays in control as we begin lap number 3.
In control, but not by a lot of time. Gap between the two of them right now, only 0.2 of a second, as here comes Trenton Briley to fight in third. I'm really liking the speed I'm seeing out of Trenton Briley tonight. I was wondering, Evan, if maybe a good land rush start got him to the lead of his heat, and clean air he was able to pull away. Okay, a solid starting spot for the feature, survived the land rush start, had a good finish there. To qualify as well in 6th, and to work his way up 3 spots into 3rd. I think we're really going to see some great speed out of Trenton Briley, and I'm really excited to see what he's got for the rest of the season as the battle for the lead turns over a new leaf, as here comes Connor Berry to the outside. That'll quickly turn inside as they go over to the right. Berry tries to clear him before the jump ends, but he can't do it. Rafos trying to hold strong along the outside as they go side by side for the race lead.
And here comes Trenton Briley, entered tonight tied for 5th in the championship with Christopher Plumley, and looking to make big gains here in feature number 2 on the inside, as it is Connor Berry back to the race lead, and now the 13 Rafos trying his best to hold off Briley. Contact there, and the 17 truck caught a piece of that K-rail on the outside of the racetrack. That's going to stunt that movement for a little bit and settle things down for the first time tonight inside of the top 3.
Since we have gone to the 2 feature race format in VOR's competition, we had 2 of these in the Pro 2 Championship in the last season, and now a full season of 2 feature race events for the Pro 4 Championship in Virtual Off-Road Racing Series competition. Nobody has gotten both of the feature race wins yet. Connor Berry is going to try and do it tonight with Rafos and Briley in tow through to the top 3. Battle further back, and Paul Mikolajczyk goes way wide at the exit of the hairpin. That'll let Ryan Miller, that'll let Crystal King and Jamie Dunn, a very damaged Maple Leaf 811, who will hold his own in P11 right now, as Crystal King trying to fight from behind him, P12. This is the battle for 11th, and battle for 10th also brewing, or battle for 9th, excuse me, with Beerline and Swain side by side.
And they're going to fight, and this is all of the other action that you have going on throughout the field is challenging up on the inside. There goes the 21 to Keaton Swain. Bit of a double tap there with Leighton Kramer in front and Aiden Berling, who was so impressive in those heat races a little bit earlier tonight. They're both going to get together, though, and I don't know, I might want to wait to try to make an attack bot here, and through on the inside does go Leighton Kramer. So having a quiet night for the 960, gridded up in 18th position. That was on the outside of row 2 for the land rush start, but all of a sudden Kramer 10 to the good and in P8 as we close in on the midway.
Up front, gap closing a little bit more as it'll be the halfway yellow flag this time by. And I think everybody wondering who exactly is going to be affected the most by this competition yellow. I think Connor Berry, he knows exactly what to do in this scenario. He already did it in feature race 1, but this feature race, Jacob Rafos has been a lot more aggressive, to be honest, Evan. He's really been going for these moves. Here's a slider again to the inside. He lays up on the one of Berry. He'll get even. Can he outdrive him now is the question. And as they fight their way through the final corner before the yellow flag comes out, Rafos goes for the crossover, peeks that nose in, trying to push Berry wide, but Connor Berry will lead again to the yellow.
Heavy hitters as we reach the halfway point, and Connor Berry dodging a big bullet there as he's able to stay ahead of Jacob Rafos as we slow things down under the competition yellow. That's big because he'll be able to control the restart when we come around on the second half of lap number 6. Briley's going to be able to close things in. Parker Retzlaff was pretty quiet, admittedly. Joshua Nola, that one, he's 4.2 seconds back the last time at speed. He'll close up in 4th, and then you look for a Retzlaff or even a Josh Clogg. 10 spots gained for him. What can he do with this advantage? But it seems pretty clear that Berry, Rafos, and even Toss Briley in there as well. These top 3 are very evenly matched, and this is the most competitive battle for the win we have seen so far tonight. Let's see what happens as we look to get it back underway.
I'd say not only are they evenly matched, I would also say that they're so evenly aggressive too. I mean, they're both two young drivers that want to win anytime they are on the track. And well, right now, they're going to have to spar against each other for 5 more laps. We go racing. It'll be 4 to go at the line. Green flag back out as Berry goes through the restart zone. And already fighting further back, Swain and Bodie Cryer are going to go side by side. But Jacob Rafos, does he have enough to try and get the spot away from Connor Berry? He dives to the inside, goes for the slider. Can he slide up in time? No, he can't. He's not going to have the momentum off the corner. And Berry holds the lead with Briley and Retzlaff trying to create a classic Crandon 4-way finish.
Really wants to join the conversation of Retzlaff. They're going to need a little bit more now with 4 laps to go in Crandon. Hanging on to 5th. Watching all of this is the second of the Retzlaffs as it is Parker 4th, then Cody in the 525 machine scored in the number 5 spot. Briley, though, to the inside of Rafos. They make contact and drag racing down the back stretch. The advantage to the 17. Briley goes to 2nd for the first time. How long though? Rafos with a slide, Retzlaff with a touch, and just as quick as he got it, it goes back to the 13.
The defense from Jacob Rafos, second to none right now, as Berry looks in his rearview mirror, pulls away to the tune of 9/10, making a full second now for your race leader. Retzlaff, the 2 Retzlaffs, Parker and Cody trying to fight with Keaton Swain sliding up in front of Josh Clogg. Josh Clogg in the 199 hits the outside wall, gives Swain 6th place. Mikolajczyk loses 2 spots further back between Dunn and Dashley, but now this 4-way fight is 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th as Connor Berry pulls away in the lead. Can Jacob Rafos make up that time? Can Parker Retzlaff get on the podium? He looks to the inside of Briley with 3 to go.
And it's not out of the question yet because he's very much in this conversation as Briley now back up and on the door trying to shake off Retzlaff. He does. Further down the road, he got Keaton Swain in the mix, Josh Clogg. Those are the final 2 trucks in that 4 to 5 truck group that occupies the majority of your top 10 spots. And through all of this, no sooner than it was, talking about how Rafosa almost got that top spot away from him, Josh, coming to the competition yellow. Connor Berry has really turned up the wick in this second half, and he is about 8 truck lengths ahead of Rafosa in second.
And Connor Berry is not looking in his rearview mirror with 2 to go this time by. On the table for Berry is another feature race win, not just to add to his 4 total in Pro 4s and 7 total all time. He also will be the only driver in the history of Virtual Off-Road Racing Series to win 2 features in one night. Nobody has been able to do it yet. He's going to try and do it here with 2 to go. Rafas with 8 tenths now separating himself and Berry. He's got fighting in his rearview mirror now as well, with Parker Retzlaff losing a bit of the touch to Trenton Briley. Let's see if he can gain it back as Keaton Swain, I think right now, Evan, is a man on a mission. He's on the back bumper of Cody Retzlaff to get into the top 5. Fastest man on the track right now is Jacob Rafas, but it's not by a ton. Keaton Swain is right there.
He is right there as well, and it's not going to let these drivers walk away with it. It could be anybody inside of the top 5 late in this second week of the Virtual Off-Road Racing Series at Crandon. Even now 3 wide as they come off of the hairpin there, as it's Ryan Miller getting squeezed out. Dashley going to be the challenger. He'll drive up the outside. Miller watches on from 3rd. They're all trying to take the spot from Drapkin, though. He'll slide wide. What a move there as Dashley parks it in front, and he'll take P10.
Side by side for 3rd now as Briley and Parker Retzlaff continue to fight. It'll be a white flag this time by for your reigning iRacing off-road champion of the world. It's Connor Berry. White flag is in the air. One final time around for the red plate number 1 with Retzlaff and Briley 3rd and 4th still continuing to fight. Keaton Swain kind of hitting a wall with Cody Retzlaff in front. That 21 machine not able to make quick work of him like he was able to from 9th all the way back up to 6th, close to where he started in 3rd, just not close enough as Berry pulls away with the lead.
He is running away at the front of the field. Connor Berry, somebody who is used to racking in the victories and adding them to the trophy cabinet with ease, had his hands full in the opening week of this season at Barker River, was able to squeak it out with the checkered flag in a 1-point championship lead over Parker Retzlaff when he came here tonight to the big house. And since then has been absolutely stunning. Rafos gave him his biggest challenge yet tonight, leading 2 laps, but in the end, Connor Berry, enforcing his will, has 2 turns left.
Through the final corner, up and over the Polaris RZR jump. He made it 1. That was enough to keep the red plate. He'll make it 2. This is enough to make him the championship favorite. Connor Berry wins 2 in a row. 2 features in one night at Crandon.
What a drive for the one machine of Connor Berry. 1.5 to the good, and a well-deserved celebration from one of the very best on the service. Connor Berry making his case early for a Pro 4 championship.
And he would also win 2 Pro 4 championships in a row. Nobody's been able to do that since Cam Peterson, the opening 2 rounds of the Pro 2 championship. Connor Berry showing why he is here to dominate. He wins the second feature race and the first feature race of the night with Jacob Rafos, Parker Retzlaff, Trenton Briley, and Cody Retzlaff through to the top 5. Keaton Swain, Josh Clogg, Aiden Beerline, Crystal King, and Nicholas Dashleg going to round out your top 10. Back from there, it was Zachary Drapkin, Ryan Miller, Jamie Dunn, Tom Grady, and Paul Mikolajczyk through to the top 15. Keith Jeffrey, Bodie Cryer, Leighton Kramer, Mario Bonfante not able to take the green flag, and Leighton Kramer running into an issue. Looks like off the restart there, he ends up 5 laps down, ending in the pit lane, and everybody else finishes on the lead lap. But what a night from virtual Crandon it was, and we won't waste much time. We'll get to talking with your winner tonight of your second and first feature races of the evening. And it was Connor Berry, who had a little bit of a challenge there at the beginning from Jacob Rafos, but it did not stick for long. The number 1 red plate machine of Connor Berry gets the win tonight, and he joins us in the broadcast booth now. Connor, congratulations. Third feature race win already of the season, but I think more importantly, 2 in a single night. First to ever do it. Congratulations.
Thanks, guys. That was just we put in a ton of time for this race after we got beat straight up. So we put in a lot of work, and it's good to see it all paid off. And me and Rafos went 1 and 2.
And you had the challenge from Jacob Rafos there in feature race 1, but more so in feature race 2. What was your strategy to try and get back by him? Because I know both of you are 2 young, aggressive racers that neither of you really want to give an inch. So what was your strategy to try and get around Rafos to get this feature race win?
The biggest thing was just like trying to get a gap on third, because I knew if we would like start to battle, I think third was Trenton. He would catch, and he caught a lot. So I knew I had to make the pass stick, and I was able to get a pretty big run going through the first turn, and I was able to make it stick going through the gravel pit, and then the rest was just me trying to be smart and smooth and bring it home.
Next time out, we're going to be heading to Wild West Motorsports Park. Where's your confidence level at there as you try and now keep the red number 1 on that truck and keep the points lead with 3 out of 4 possible feature race wins? You're looking good right now, but what can you do through the middle rounds?
Yeah, so I think Wild West is next, and I will actually not be up there. So I will have to rely on the drop race to keep me back in the points. So coming back to Wild Horse, I'm pretty confident that we can go there and get some more wins, and hopefully keep ourselves in the points, and just hopefully we just stay consistent and have no more bad rounds.
Congratulations on the 2 feature race wins tonight, Connor. Awesome job.
Thanks, guys.
Great to hear from Connor Berry, as always. Of course, the reigning champion of the iRacing Off-Road Championship Series and double feature race winner tonight. Double second places for Jacob Rafos. Evan, you're standing by with him.
We're down trackside with the drive of the 13 truck, and Jacob, congratulations. It's a great result for you guys, finishing in those top 2 for both of the feature races. And in that second one, I mean, you really gave it to Connor Berry there, stole 2 laps, led early in this one. Just tell us about it.
Hey, it was great. I had held the outside on the start and kept it on the inside, and I overtook him. And we fought for a few laps. He was behind, and he put a slider, and I think I sent it too hard, so I lost him a little bit, but I think it could got him on a cutback. But yeah,
we saw that on a couple of occasions where you were able to get the jump and take the race lead away from people. That included your heat race as well. What are some things that you enjoy about Crandon that fit your driving style?
for sure it's the land rush. I love it. It's it's all about that start, which I'm pretty good at, like just punching it. And I could have stayed around outside of Keaton, and yeah, that's how it goes.
Well, you're able to find the success at Crandon here, of course, looking to put together that full resume. And you're going to have to do it on a different racetrack when we race next time on November the 2nd at Wild West. So comparing this track to that, what are you looking forward to at Wild West? Are you going to have to change how you drive there versus how you did here? What's the best plan of success so that we see that 13 truck up front again?
Yeah, maybe I have a chance. I heard Connor's not racing, so then I have a chance. But yeah, it's for sure probably Parker and all those. Trenton and Keaton is also very fast at Wild West.
You mentioned those names. What is it like learning the styles of those drivers and trying to find some weaknesses to get the upper hand on them? I'm sure it's fun racing with them every week.
Sure. It's always fun racing these trucks because you can go much more side by side with the trucks than you can with rally cars. And it's all about getting that momentum in. And yeah, you can be more side by side without just, yeah.
We saw plenty of that here tonight. Congratulations, Jacob, on an impressive P2 finish here. It's a big haul of points, and we'll see what you got for us next time. Best of luck.
And I'd like to thank Apex Game PC, Jim Beaver Esports, Connor, Barry, and all the Jim Beaver supporters, and for sure the team members.
We appreciate your time. Yeah, we got a lot of good looks, I'll tell you, at that 13 truck all night long, and a lot of TV time for all you and your partners.
Yeah.
That is your P2 finisher, Joshua, in the second of the feature races tonight for Jacob Raffos. And you're down with Parker Retzlaff, who comes home third in feature race number 2.
A very familiar name, and he was able to walk away with the feature race at Bark River. But Parker, not tonight. It was third place in feature race number 2 and a solid finish in feature race number 1 as well. Just what more did you need out of Crandon tonight to walk away with a little bit of a better finish in both of these features?
I mean, I feel like we had a decent speed to maybe go run with Connor. I felt like he was a little bit quicker than us, but just it was just all like the starts. I didn't have 2 good starts, and just the turn 1 at Crandon, it was just wild. I never really came out clean and could keep going forward. I was kind of in a battle the whole race. I couldn't really just try and focus and drive forward. So I feel like we just needed to figure out our starts and work on that before we come here next.
You mentioned the land rush start, and it's so unique, and you're relatively new to E-Short course on the iRacing service. Of course, you put in a lot of hours, but racing at Crandon is a lot different than putting practice laps in at Crandon, especially with that start. Did that kind of catch you off guard first time you lined up 10 to a row, and did you really kind of not know what to do in that scenario with, so many trucks to your outside, inside, and trying to funnel into the track?
I mean, I've done like some, iRacing official races and stuff, so I knew what I was coming into. It's just trying to get a good start with all the really good guys here, and then just go through the corner clean because everybody's trying to go for basically the same spot. So if you're in the middle of it, it makes for a lot of contact, and everyone's just trying to get as much space as they can and get out clean, which is why everyone is hitting each other.
Back to pace laps at Wild West in a few weeks' time. Where's your confidence level at there with a good points haul tonight and that feature race win as well at Bark River? You're still looking at a pretty solid points look heading into the third round of the season.
Yeah, I mean, I knew coming into it that I was going to take us to beat Con every week, so we just got to keep working as a team and Team Rogue and just keep bringing good trucks like I feel like we did tonight. We finished 3rd and 5th, and it's a good night, so we're just going to keep trying to bring good trucks every week and test as a team and try and get better and learn as we go. So I just have to thank everybody who helps me with Team Rogue and Vicente and Funkaway, Ponzi, Iron Horse Loggers. I know my parents are watching. Thank you for everything they do, and Josh for putting this on and you guys for broadcasting it.
Great to hear from you again from the virtual Crandon. That's Parker Retzlaff, 3rd place finish, and we thank him, Jacob Raffos, and Connor Berry for their time tonight post-race. But Evan, after that one, that was an intense 2 feature races, really taking the intensity, ramping up a little bit out of Bark River, and I think it's the same thing that we kind of said coming into tonight. Connor Berry is the dominant force in this championship, and now heading to Wild West, heading to Wild Horse Pass, and then going back to Bark River and back to Crandon for a second time to both of those tracks. It's who is going to dethrone the king right now.
Yeah, I think it was a bit of a push back from Connor Berry tonight, right? We talked about how close he was contested at the top of the championship, and he kind of swung back at him tonight, and he proved that, listen, I'm still here, and I still may be the best to do this in these Pro 4 trucks. And now the challenge has been laid. You go to the home of short course, and he gets 2 for 2. That's a big statement. But now we go to a very different kind of track when we head to Wild West next week. One of the tracks that has unfortunately recently become one of them on the service that only exists now in the virtual space, right? We talked about those momentum and the rhythmic sections of Crandon. You're not going to get that at Wild West. This is straight line and hairpin city. There will be ample opportunity to make aggressive moves, to make passes. Qualifying going to be important as well, but it's going to be a very different race than what we saw tonight. We know Connor Berry is going to be fast there because he can get it done everywhere. Will the rest of the field continue to learn and adapt right alongside him will be the question.
And we hope that you'll join us here on Racecraft TV. It'll be November 2nd at 9 p.m. Eastern time, same place, right here on Racecraft TV. And you'll be able to see the stars of E-Short Course go racing for once again. For Josh Edmondson and everybody else at the Virtual Off-Road Racing Series and at Racecraft TV, for Evan Basoko joining alongside myself, Joshua Lee, up here in the commentary booth, we thank you all for tuning in at home to the second round of the Virtual Off-Road Racing Series Pro 4 Championship. And a big congratulations to Connor Berry, who walks away with 2 feature race wins tonight. Can anybody dethrone the young king of E-Short Course? We'll find out on November 2nd from Virtual Wild West. But now we say good night from Crandon.